Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the New Starters Perspective series. This is where I get a chance to speak to those who have recently joined Veramed to find out what their first 6 months have been like. Today, I'm joined by Kendra. Kendra, hello and welcome to the podcast.
Hello, glad to be here.
Why don't you start by telling our listeners what is it that you do here at Veramed and how have you found your first sort of 6 months?
I am a senior manager in statistics, and I am working FSP for one of our clients. In that role, I'm working as a safety statistician, primarily full-time with one of our major clients. My first 6 months have been very pleasant. The first few weeks when I started here, I was able to be onboarded in a wonderful pace, at a pace that was completely manageable. I also got to meet many of my UK colleagues virtually over the first few weeks, as well as I spent a lot of time being introduced to my colleagues who are working at the client that I'm working with.
So you got to meet a lot of people in the first few weeks then?
Yes, a lot of people.
Yeah. Obviously from your accent, you're from the States. What state are you from?
I live in New York, on western part of the New York state.
Okay. So is this the first time you're working for a UK company or have you done this in the past?
This is the first time I'm working for a UK company. I have worked for another large biotech company where the department I was working in is actually in Europe, not the United Kingdom. So I have some experience working with individuals who are not from the UK, where primarily I'm sitting as one of the few US-based employees.
Okay.
But it is new to be with a UK company.
Yeah, I spoke with Bree, and yeah, so she said some of the slang, the British sort of slang and like time difference, a bit of adjusting. Did you find the same?
Yes, yeah. I learned a phrase recently. This may sound really silly. I don't know if I should say it on the podcast. The word washing up, and the conversation was about dishes. In the US, when we say wash up, it's usually like taking a shower or or something like that. And so for the first few minutes, what are you talking about? But it was obviously context made it pretty clear they were talking about dishes and not showering.
Okay, because I'd never thought of that one, to be honest. Usually, obviously, we've got the classic things of like pants and trousers. That's
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I've not heard washing up before. So how was the recruitment process then? Did you apply or did someone reach out to you?
Someone did reach out to me via LinkedIn, but then I filled out my application after that initial communication with them.
And how did you find the process itself, like with the interviews and everything?
Yeah, it was really nice. It was, I felt like they were very thorough and there was no pressure. Whereas before, when I've interviewed for roles in the US, there's a lot of opportunity and there's also a lot of roles, and sometimes it can be really hard to fill these positions. So sometimes you can go through an interview process very fast, number one, and also where there's an eagerness for the company to really fill that role because the need is so great. Well, when I went through the interview process with Veramed, I did not feel that at all. I felt like they were very patient and they really wanted to make sure that not only were they looking to see if I was a fit, but they really wanted to make sure that I also felt very comfortable, that I felt like I wanted to work at Veramed. So there was not a rush feeling around the interview process. I had really great conversations with the recruiter with Veramed at the time, and I had multiple conversations with the recruiter. He was very open. And even that process there kind of gave me some insight on the culture of the company, that there's a lot of intentionality behind what they do. And I could see that even with the recruitment process. So that really gave me a lot of interest to learn more about Veramed, which I really knew nothing before because it's a UK-based company and they hadn't had anybody from the US work before. So it was quite new to me. But I don't think I was wrong. Now that I'm working here, I do see that there is a lot of intentionality behind decisions Veramed makes, and it starts as early as the recruiting process.
So would you say that's probably one of the biggest differences between a US company and a UK company?
It's a difference. It was a really noticeable difference to me. I don't know if it's the biggest, but It's really one of the noticeable differences. Mm-hmm.
Okay. You mentioned that you're working as an FSP for one of our clients. Was that something that you expressed interest in before joining, or is that something that once you joined, they asked if you're interested in?
when I initially applied, I did not, and I was not aware that the way Veramed works is that they do place people in FSP positions in a high amount. I wasn't really actually prepared for the FSP offer. But as I started talking with the recruiter and as I went through my interview process, it was shared with me how this role that I was applying for how it would look like. And then I was understood that this is more of an FSP role. And I liked the idea. I've never worked FSP before, so I thought it was interesting. And I was open to a new opportunity. So I learned this as I went through the whole interview process.
Okay, excellent. Do you have any sort of tips or advice for anyone else from the US that were maybe potentially thinking of working for Veramed?
I will say one tip. I think one tip is do not make any assumptions about how this CRO functions based off of your experience in the US. Just start fresh. Start fresh and learn about what Veramed is about. Learn their mission, learn their vision, understand the culture, and don't bias that perspective with maybe some of your experience in the US. Because I found, and I still believe this, that Veramed's culture is really unique and special amongst the CRO industry. And in my years of work experience, I haven't found anything that mirrors this. So I would just say be free to learn about Veramed genuinely and authentically, and you will hear some pretty phenomenal things about the company that might seem pretty unique to an experience working for a CRO in the US. Not to say that the cultures, there aren't some similarities across other CROs. I haven't worked at many, but generally I do think that there's really something special about the culture at Veramed.
Yeah, I mirror what you say, to be honest. Like even from a UK perspective, I think it's a very nice culture. Like the people are great, and the fact that it's quite a flat structure, so you can just go talk to Matt and Emma, the owners and founders, like just casually while having a coffee or things like this. And yeah, I think that's quite unique, and it's well one of the reasons why we're all still here. So
Yeah, yeah.
excellent.
That's good.
Well, Kendra, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Sure.
It's been lovely chatting to you. Again, it's one of these things where you and I wouldn't normally cross paths, and this gives us a nice opportunity to have a conversation. I'm sure I'll get you on for one of the longer episodes in the future as well. Thank you all very much for listening. If you'd like to be notified for any future episodes, please subscribe to us on Spotify, iTunes, or whichever podcast platform you're using. If you'd like to know more about Veramed, please visit our website at veramed.co.uk, or you can find us on LinkedIn. If you have any questions about Veramed, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm always happy to help. You can find us also on YouTube and Instagram at We Are Veramed. Thank you all very much for listening, and until next time, goodbye.